All right, everybody, welcome to the 379th edition of the Holy Backboard podcast. I am Dustin here in Rip City, and I got my man.
Sage ready to talk about March Madness, the best reality TV show ever. My God, it was my birthday yesterday, and all I wanted to do was watch March Madness. It was fantastic.
There have been some games.
Hmm.
I mean, Oregon Creighton, double OT, Texas A&M, big man hitting a three to send that game against Houston into overtime. Oakland stunning Kentucky, Yale stunning Auburn, Dayton crazy comeback against Nevada.
Dude, that was awesome.
Just it's I'm really glad that NIL is in place because for a time there, I was really worried about college basketball.
Hmm.
And it's a completely different beast than the NBA, but that's okay. March
Hmm.
Madness will always have a place, I think, in American culture. And the fact that like you can watch every game now, you can, log into your provider or whatever, and like every game is streamable, like they made it super accessible. Like it is like the Thursday through Sunday weekend opening round, like the round of 64 and then 32 might be one of the top like three weekends in the entire calendar year, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And like it made me like remember when you and I went to the Portland one and saw Gonzaga versus Memphis. So like this weekend is so important for a multitude of things. It's teams proving that they deserve to be there, or trying to break the curse. Like Purdue lost in the first round last year. They're trying to prove that they're good. So it was just so much, like all the context around each game was just so fascinating with what's happening. It's just a great wholesome pure event of just sports and competition, and I just love watching March Madness.
Yeah, and so I think every Monday we're gonna, through the tournament, we're just gonna do a quick episode of some of the draft prospects. If our opinion has changed, if their stock's up, if their stock's down, what we think will translate to the next level. And these will kind of be our future Fridays. And, because this is such an international heavy class, clearly you have so many top prospects in the G League Ignite. But right now, nobody wants to talk about Modest Buzelis or Zachary Risache. Like
No.
you've got players on display right now that the entire country is tuned into.
Hmm.
And so there's no better time to tap into that. Honestly, the first prospect that I want to talk about, and if you would have told me 2 years ago that this person would be like on my radar as like a legit first round pick, I would have told you you're crazy. But this player has completely transformed their game. And in this type of draft, I'm willing to roll the dice on Purdue big man Zach Edey. Like we're talking about a guy who is nearly 7'5", 7'4" 300 pounds, but
Moves.
it was the national player of the year last year, the
Hmm.
likely national player of the year this year, put up 30 points, 21 boards, and three blocks on 65% shooting in 31 minutes against Grambling in the opening round to kind of expel some of the demons from last
Hmm.
year's 116 upset. And then again, Utah State tried to do whatever they could to get the ball out of his hands, and it didn't work. He
Hmm.
showed me so much poise and patience, handling double teams, knowing when to go quick into the paint to shoot over that left hand shoulder. Finished with 23 points on 8 of 11 shooting, 14 boards, 3 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals in 27 minutes. He moves so well. You would not be able to tell that he's almost 7'5" and 300 pounds the way
Hmm.
he's really moved. 2 years ago, he exactly split time right down the middle with Travion Williams. And a lot of that was because his conditioning was poor. He was tired. He just really wasn't able to move that well. His conditioning is fabulous. He moves so well. Like he moves like I think an NBA big, not like a DeAndre Ayton type of mobility, but for his size, it's I think
It's good.
he's ready for the next level. He shoots free throws extremely well for a big man. He's got soft touch. Um, he's just a mammoth. And with the NBA going big, like we saw the small ball probably about 8, 9 years ago with the Warriors and
Mhm.
Draymond. Well, now you're seeing, I think, skill big ball coming back, and you got guys like Chet and Victor. Obviously, Giannis has been around the block. You've got Joker and Embiid, but Şengün, you're just starting to see the centers are coming back, and you have to have some sort of answer. And why I like Zach Edey is because he just takes up so much mass and space that yeah, he's not going to be able just to camp under the key because of the defense of 3 seconds, and that's not a rule in college. Obviously, it is in the league, but I saw him quite a few times get matched up with a guy on the perimeter, and look like
Stop.
he was
Yeah.
he didn't look like he was in the deep end. Like
Mm.
he played off a bit, but he's got such a long-standing reach that he can play off. He moves his hips pretty well. He can get those, behind the player blocks, challenge shots. He doesn't foul.
He
Um,
defends the rim. It's a really like
he
he's gonna be there to defend the rim and deter Anthony Edwards or Scoot Henderson from getting to the rim. Now, I think that there's something I also have to say I am just impressed by his passing and the timing that it took. Like they're
his
doubling.
processing has really gotten better.
Yeah. The fact that they tried to double him at all the time and he would just find the right player to pass to. And Purdue, I think a year ago, the players surrounding him sucked. They weren't ready to take that open shot, but they have built a team around him that's ready to compete and built really perfectly for Zach Edey to post up and find them and hit the right shot. So I'm really impressed by him as a player. I do think there's some restrictions and limitations, and I know people are going to compare him to Jahlil Okafor, but I think Jaleel was a top 5 pick. Zach Edey's going to be in the 20s. So it's going to be a lot less pressure. I think a team that would really do well with him is the New York Knicks because they're such a slow paced team. You're not going to put Edey on the Blazers when we want to run. You're going to put him on the slowest paced team, a team that cares about defense, a team that just wants him to be in the way, to clog up the paint defensively. And if he's put against second string players, he's going to eat because he's so damn strong. Could you imagine Paul? What the hell is Paul Reed going to do with a 7'4" post threat trying to score every time or has the ability to pass it? Yeah, I agree. Like last year, I was thinking Zach Edey was, a really awesome story, but now I think that like legitimately top 25 prospect. Like he's been awesome.
I think by draft day he's going to go closer to top 15.
You would agree the Blazers are a bad fit for him though, right?
I'm all in. Like
Wow.
I think here's the thing. You have to think long term. And you can't necessarily think so Zach Edey's never going to play 40 minutes. He's probably going to play 24 minutes a night. And you're going to need, unless you have one of those elite centers, you're going to need basically just a utility, a big men to cycle through. Think about when the Lakers had Shaq, the Blazers had Jermaine O'Neal, Rasheed Wallace, Brian Grant, Arvydas Sabonis. I mean, and then Dale Davis. Like they threw the complete arsenal at
Mhm.
Shaquille O'Neal. He was the force of the league. Victor Wembanyama is going to be that same force, and that he's got a fucking brother coming in too in a couple years. Like these monstars are basically gonna take over the league. You have to have roadblocks to deter them. You're never gonna shut them down, but you have to have ways to at least put up some resistance. And what I love about the idea of Zach Edey is the fact that he I think could grow into a somewhat of a pick and pop big. If you watch tape from him at the combine last year, he was knocking down threes. Now that's not his
That's
role
not his
at
role. Yeah,
Purdue. He shot 1 3 at Purdue, banked it in. They want him on the
yeah,
block, and that's probably where you're going to put him on the block too. But I think there's more room for him to grow. And there's just this stigma about players over the age of 19, 20 years old. If you're a sophomore, like, oh, you're old, you're washed up. I mean, yeah, he's a senior, I think there's room for him to grow. You've seen continual improvement from him. I don't think you. So one thing about playing fast, how do you play fast, Sage? You get stops on the defensive end and you rebound the ball. That's what he can do. He can do the Bill Walton, let's
Mm.
just block the shot outlet. He doesn't have to finish the play. Sure, he can trail a bit, but like he doesn't need to be the one as a play finisher. He wants to be the ignition, the engine. Start that thing. Let Scoot go. You got Shaden, Tumani, etc. on the wings. They can finish. And again, if you are only playing him 20 to 28 minutes a night, yeah, you can get go in bursts and you
Mhm.
can play him in bursts. So like you're not asking him to be that traditional like Patrick Ewing, okay, we need you for 40 minutes a night, big dog. You're gonna have to do everything on both ends. Like defense, rebound, and if you have a mismatch, dump it into him because
Mhm.
like
He can
he
score in
is
that paint easily.
so large. And
Mhm.
if you are able to, like you're gonna need somebody to go up against Victor Wembanyama. Like you can't just like give up on the next 10 to 15 years of basketball and say, oh, well, they've got Wembanyama. We're screwed. We can't do anything about it. You have to figure out ways. And you also can't be like, oh, well, maybe we'll go for it when Wembanyama's hurt. You can't project that stuff.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to defend the other team's greatness. And it pretty much worked for Portland had they not gone ice cold in game 7. You have to be the team that puts up the biggest resistance and make Wembanyama play defense. Get him into maybe some foul trouble. Wear
Mhm.
him out on the. I mean, he is a large, large human being. I just think he's going to have a great tournament. He's already having a great
Oh, he's
tournament,
up. Yeah.
and in this draft, with there's so much uncertainty that I think a team's going to see like I think there's going to be a GM that's going to be like, I'm overthinking this. Like, it can't always be about potential, potential, potential. You have to find a player who's going to contribute, and they're going to be like, damn, he moves better than we thought.
Hmm.
He processes the game really quick. He does what you want. Um, let's flip and talk about Connecticut because they also have another big man who has performed.
Would you have Zach over Donovan?
Yes, that is my that
Woo!
is my that is my hot take. Um, I when I watch them both play, I'm kind of baffled as to why Donovan Clingan's considered a lottery pick and Zach Edey's like 30s, low
Mhm.
40s. And I just Donovan Clingan, 2 years younger, 2 years smaller, or 2 inches smaller, so he's 7'2" instead of 7'4", 20 pounds lighter, 280. He had a really strong start to the tournament as well. 19, 8, 4 assists, 9 of 11 shooting from the floor, 20 minutes against Stetson, 14 and 14 with 8 blocks on 5 of 7 shooting in 27 minutes against Northwestern. Um, but there's a few things that worry me about Donovan Clingan. One, we talked about, and I think he's kind of where Zach Edey was his sophomore year. The conditioning has been an issue all year. It's
Oh
been an
yeah,
issue
putting
for
on that
Donovan.
weight really
He
ruined
put
him.
he put on some weight. He dealt with a foot issue to
Hmm.
start the season.
Hmm.
Anytime you have a big man with a foot issue, that is like triple red flags. In my opinion,
I believe that he in the past has had feet issues too, so this isn't just a 1 year thing. And has Zach Edey ever been hurt?
not that I can recall.
Yeah.
And so when you look at Klingon, like I watch Edie, I'm like he moves pretty well. Like Klingon is like when you're stuck behind a semi truck at a stoplight and you're like, God damn, can you like hurry and move your ass? Like Klingon is like that. It takes him so long to get started and to get going. He is like a freight train
Do you
in the
remember
sense
him
of
last year?
not
Because
as
last
much as
year he was so with Klingon, he came into UConn 40 pounds lighter and was moving a lot better. And then he put on weight and moved like he's moving now. I just think that the people in his corner are telling him the wrong things. You have to be lighter and better movement instead of thicker and more standstill. Like, I just think he's getting bad advice from the people in his corner. When he was a freshman, he was moving around. Like, I was impressed by his movement skills. He's still really talented and big, and I one thing I like about Zach Edey is he knows he's 7'5", So he'll just stand up, hands up, ready to play defense. Have you seen Donovan Clingan just jump and try and get blocks? That's not a good habit to have. Like how many people in the NBA even is gonna be able to score easily over outstretched Donovan Clingan hands? Like
I
it's tough.
I know you love him, but there's a little Hassan White side to Donovan Clingan
I mean,
chasing those blocks.
there's a reason I love Hassan that isn't on the court, so I get it. But I actually do agree with that one though. Like, but Hassan was better
Like,
when he's skinny.
yeah, and I know the Blazers need a center. Like they need a big. Dwap Reith is more of a stretch four in the sense like he's really good at
He's not
stretching the
protecting the
floor.
paint at all.
He's not protecting the paint and he struggles to finish around the rim. Like Scoot dimes him up a lot and Dwap just can't finish around the
Mhm.
rim. And I really like Reith, but he has his limitations. We've talked recently about DeAndre Ayton, his contract situation, whether you're going to be able to pay him a
Mhm.
second max deal. Not sure that's necessarily in the cards. And when you have a second lottery pick, you're going to want to, you don't probably want to take two of the same type of player.
Mhm.
You want to maybe get a small forward and then you get yourself a center, something along those lines. So, Klingon is in that range, but I just I'm not I really wanted to like him because I know he is in our range. But when I watch him play, I think he is more of a 90s center than Edie in
I
the
think he
sense
just
of
needs to rep out. This is like I know this is the year for people to go out, but if you took a long-term approach with Donovan, he has a lot to learn about being 7'2". Like he's still playing like he's 6'9" or like 6'8", where he has to jump at stuff in order to get the contest. He's fucking huge. Just let him take on the punishment of going against college players. Because I think he's kind of avoidant in his post defense, where Zach Edey's like, come into my chest and try and
Mhm.
score on me. Donovan's trying to play finesse when it's like you have the ultimate cheat code of your body. Just use your body to push this dude out of the way and make plays. Like I remember, bro. Like I wrote an article about Zach. The only the only blog post I wrote this year that wasn't a transcription of this podcast was about Riley Kugel, Donovan Clingan, and Terrence Shannon Jr. I was so impressed with the freshman version of him, but he also had a G League player in front of him, so he had the 20-minute spell. I just think he's a few years behind Zach Edey in development, and I think those years of having low levels of responsibility, like you're playing college, so it's not as important as like those first 2 years as an NBA pro. I think if he had like 4 year senior type thing, we'd be talking about him in a similar realm of Zach Edey. It's just this is the year.
Yeah, what I want to see Donovan do is have some sort of a post move. Edie's got that, right?
Mm,
He's got that nice jump hook. I also want to see Klingon not be like when I think of Edie, I'm like, you can't foul him. He's going to make you pay at the free throw line.
mm,
Donovan Klingon is not there. Like, I don't know if I can project right now Klingon to do any sort of shot outside of 10 feet, outside
mm,
of 5 feet. Edie, I think, can hit that DeAndre Ayton foul line jump shot.
mm.
Like, I think you can run more things through him. I think he's a really complete player. Like, the only thing you want from Zach Edey is like, can you just move a little bit better? And he's shown that year over year, yeah, I can. So if
And
he,
Zach Edey, I mean, right now he might be projected in the 30s. I don't know. Like we don't know what NBA players are thinking, but it's going to be you're giving up such less with Zach Edey because he's going to be in the 20s most likely. Donovan's top 10, top 15.
yeah, and
That's a lot
I
more for the potential of him. What if his potential is Zach Edey? I since we've been on
let's
centers, I think
okay.
I think I'm because we'll go with Stephen Castle. He's fucking awesome. But I think since we're on the center realm, I think three of the traditional centers that have been shining, Eve Meese's from Baylor, he came into this tournament hurt, But what he can do on the defensive end is something that Zach and Donovan just cannot do, and that's move his feet and make defensive plays and block shots. Zach Edey's more stationary. Obviously, he can move, but like Yves is kind of like what the new age team building is, with a center that's really versatile defending, could block shots, get rebounds, and finish around the rim. When I look at him, it's like, oh, he's Clint Capella was the original. Yves is version 3.0. He definitely got into foul trouble. He definitely got hurt, so he wasn't playing at his top capacity. But you look at him and like I think he's much better than Donovan Clingan. I think he's much better than Zach Edey. I think he's the if we're putting Alex Sarr as a traditional center, which I don't know if we will, he's number two. Because I think that he can actually do the things that you need in a starting level center to do. Donovan hasn't proven to me that he can do the defensive rebounding. Him being 7-2 and getting like 6 rebounds a game is kind of frightening to me. So Yves, I think, just provides what you need if you have Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons on this team. And I think that he can grow into being a a Clint Capella type of player, or like a Tyson Chandler type of impact player defensively and offensively. So if I had the choice at 14 and we had to take a center, I'm taking Yves pretty easily, because he can grow into a starting level center. I think Zach is someone that could play 24 minutes, but he also matchup dependent, probably can play zero too. Like if it's a team that he just cannot be on the floor with, I think Yves just has 30-minute upside every game. So for me, him defensively rebounding and slam dunking, he's my top traditional center. I know that you could say Sar because he's tall can, but we know that he's going to start his career playing four next to a big center like Yves Mises. So I think he's really impressive.
Do you think the Clint Capella type of center is being phased out? Or do you think that too much stock is being put into just so in this into just mobility? And the reason I asked this question is because I touched on it last week, and I was like, what's the difference between Alex Sarr and Yves Missi? Why is there one's being projected to be number one, one's in the teens? Like to
Mhm.
me, it wasn't making sense because I don't know. Like you're putting a lot of projection into what Sarr can
Yeah.
be, but there's a long road ahead of that where I think they're right now they're pretty similar prospects. And so
Except
is
Sar edges you with the shooting ability where he just scores in the paint. I don't think that, like, it all depends on your team building. Like if you say I'm gonna have a traditional point guard, I'm gonna have a scoring wing, I'm gonna have a four that is very versatile and switchable and can score. Why do you? I think that the Clint Capella type works if your team building is what the Blazers are doing. You don't need your center to be a decision maker. You need your center to set screens, off ball and on ball, get rebounds, block shots, and score when given the ball in the paint. So it depends on how you're building your team, if that type of build is getting phased out. But I think with the Blazers, like, you're putting so much stock in Scoot Henderson to be a superstar. You don't need your center to be able to be a decision maker. You need him to do the blue collar yeoman's work of protect this paint and get rebounds. So I think it's about the team, not the individual player.
all right. One more center who I thought I don't know if he'll be drafted
Are we
due
talking
to
about the person's team that you're wearing?
yeah, let's go.
Fuck
And
yeah.
Fale Dante. I don't know if he's going to get drafted. He's had a laundry list of knee concerns, but basically he and Jermaine Couisnard Shaq and Kobe the Ducks to nearly a Sweet 16 appearance. He goes for 23-6 on 7 of 9 shooting against South Carolina, 28-20 on 60% shooting, played
He's so fucking good.
48 minutes. He also had 3 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Um,
I
he
took
was
the
just
over on the steals, and I was very happy.
he's just a man amongst boys. Neither team had an answer for him. No team in the Pac-12 tournament had an answer for him. He basically had a stretch of going like 23 for 23 from the field.
We've
Um,
talked about him for years being interesting, being
but
so good.
I mean, it's some players are hit with the bit with the injury bug, and thankfully he's been healthy. And I would love to see him get picked up. I think he moves really well. He's got such quick feet and great reach and wonderful hands. Like
Yes, I was about to say that.
the hands are the hands and feet of a big man. That's exactly what you need. Another reason why I like Zach so much. But in volley, like he's just powerful around the rim. He's quick like a cat. Like he was just out quicking Creighton's big, who was also pretty
Stockbrenner.
solid as well. Yeah.
I think Crockbrenner is one of the best fundamentally sound bigs that college basketball's seen in the last like at least since we've paid attention. And Dante just like Cockburner did everything right. Everything right. Like he's NBA 2K's version of a post player. Like Infale just dominated him. Like the penetration that Oregon had on Creighton every time, it was either going to be a scored layup or Infale was going to catch the ball and dunk it after the Kobe assist. Like the way that he just outbigged a really nice, fundamentally sound player was so impressive that like before we start recording, I was like, we gotta talk about Dante because he's just so good. And this is the year that you take a chance on a guy that's had some injury issues. And if he gives you 1 year of good service, that is going to be such a benefit to a team taking a chance on a guy with injury risk. Like the if he ends up being healthy, if he's on the Blazers and he's healthy for a few years, DeAndre Ayton and N'Faly Dante as your center rotation is pretty sexy, man. Like you're having some of the best movement centers in the game. I love the way he uses his hands defensively as a block, doing block shots and stealing the ball. Like he he's kind of on that Clint Capella build too, but he's just so athletically superior to everybody that I'd be willing to take a chance on N'Faly, and like he's just so. I remember 3 years ago we were talking about him like, man, he if he could stay healthy, if he could stay healthy. Well, this is the last year. This has to be the last year that he has college eligibility,
Yeah,
and
he's
this is the
done.
year that he should go out and try and make some noise in the combine. And I think with his performances in the last two, well, not even 2 games, but the Pac-12 tourney and these 2 games, people are going to be thinking nice thoughts about him and the way he dominated. I think Blazers, if he's there with one of our picks in the second, we take him. It's
All
not that
right.
much draft capital to give up, too.
No. There are let's hit on 3 prospects quickly. I know the bigs kind of ruled the weekend, and rightfully so. Those players put up monster numbers, but you want to get to Stephon Castle. I want to get to Dalton Connect, and then we'll quickly touch on Cody Williams. Connect and Cody, we both done Future Fridays on. So let's hit them first.
And
Dalton
let's
Connect.
talk a little bit about Jacoby too.
All right. Well, we're already over our quick hitter, so I wanted
Well, there's no such thing as quick hitters when we're talking. All right,
yeah.
let's go.
Okay. Dalton Connect. Sweet 16 appearance. Tennessee got past St. Peter's in Texas. Great game against St. Peter's.
Mhm.
23 points, 8 boards, 50% from three, 53% from the field. Struggled against Texas as Texas really keyed in on him. 18 points, 9 rebounds. Got to the line 8 times though. 5 of 18 from the field. Um, I'm not really too worried about the Texas
Hmm.
performance. Again, we're talking about scaled up and scaled down performances. Look at Delano Banton right now. Like he's good when he gets a lot of volume. But when he gets scaled down, how is he going to perform? It's kind of the opposite for Dalton Connect. At this level, I don't think he has the skill set to be a number one
Hmm.
option at the NBA, but he's going to be a great third or fourth option. And so you want to see how does he respond? Well, he got to the line 8 times on a poor shooting night and grabbed 9 rebounds. You want to see players impact the game when their shots not falling or they're being taken out of the game by certain defenses. I mean, they basically were face guarding him, were not leaving him
Yeah,
alone.
exactly.
And I thought he responded. He had a couple of nice drives, nice finishes. Was all over the place against St. Peter's. Again, another thing you want to see. Does he dominate inferior
Hmm.
competition? Absolutely. Another player that I think's getting, I said this on the Future Friday, he's getting knocked because of his age, but I I think there's a path now for Tennessee to get to that Final Four. I'm really looking forward to how I don't think Creighton has anybody that can handle him. If they
Hmm.
struggled with Jermaine Couisnard, they're not going to know what to do with Dalton Connect. There's no way Trey Alexander or Baylor Shireman or that Stephen Ashford
Hmm.
is going to be able to really put up any sort of
They have to
resistance.
box and one. If Creighton was going to win, they have to box and one them and make the four other Tennessee Volunteers score.
Yeah. So
But
basically, my opinion of Dalton didn't
hasn't
change.
changed. Hasn't changed. I mean, Stephen Castle just when he wants to, he can just dominate an entire side of the defense. Obviously, the issues with him being shot avoidant are still very much a thing, but the way he's just proven himself as a complementary piece, as a connective piece to this UConn team. Like Tristan Newton plays pretty damn well and plays exactly how UConn wants, and Stephon Castle just does his best to make the team around him successful. And when you're on a team that I think is heavily favored to be the national championship, finding a way to be part of a roster is really key. And he's doing it and he's shining in his role. Obviously, we all expected him to be alpha point guard like all the great point guards are, but he's doing something in a secondary role and succeeding so much and proving us as scouts wrong. Like the rep on him was he wasn't a good defender. Well, he's changed that and it's like his biggest strong suit. So I'm a huge fan of watching UConn. I think they're gonna win it all, and they're just as a team perfectly constructed.
First off, it's bogus that Tristan Newton isn't on any draft board. No
Oh
big
yeah,
boards like this. Again, another super senior getting knocked because he's 23 years old. The kid can play. Like if you watched Ao
he plays
DeSumo,
perfectly.
yeah, if you watch Ao DeSumo, right now with Chicago. I mean, he's a fantastic point guard who continued to improve. I know it's crazy to think after being a senior at Illinois and taken in the second round, you do a redraft. He's going closer to the lottery. Like newsflash, GMs, players can get better after graduating from college. So this has kind of been a pain point for me seeing these players who are solid. But back to Castle, and Cody Williams to an extent. I really wish they would both go back to school because
Oh yeah.
there's not enough tape for me to um make a really strong argument for either. I still have Cody in my top three. I
Do
still
you think
love
Cody
him.
Williams is going to be a good rookie? I think he's going to
I don't
suck.
know. No, he's not going to be.
Okay.
He is the definition of like long term. Like I'm betting on him
Yeah.
to get better, but it's super dangerous to just bet on potential. And I don't know if there's enough on Castle right now because, like you said,
They're competing for a chip.
they said he was coming in as this, point guard, and they're like, nope, you're not that. We're gonna Tristan Newton's the point guard. Okay, so now you're a complimentary piece. Well, you're getting drafted in the lottery as a complimentary piece. Like, are you going to develop into that? Like, who are you now? Are you Alonzo Ball, small forward? Are you a bigger lead point guard? Like, can you shoot? Like, we still don't know about that. The shot needs a lot of work,
Oh, it needs so much work.
and he's not given the opportunity to take over games. Like 11 shots, 6 of 11 against Stetson in 29 minutes. He only took 6 shots, 3 of 6 against Northwestern in 25 minutes. 7 points, 2 rebounds, 14 and 5 and 4 against Stetson. Um, he's the type of player that you always fall for. Like he's got the size, he's got the I think he's got the reputation of a blue chip prospect, but he goes to a school that's loaded for 1 year, doesn't really get a chance to kind of really spread his wings. Maybe he's not ready to spread his wings, but then like does he flourish or does he become another Nasir Little, Cam Reddish,
Mm.
where he's just getting drafted based upon high school tape and the game just isn't there? And so that's what scares me about Castle and Cody Williams, who
I
Cody
mean, he's
played
playing with
better,
Tristan da Silva, who's
and KJ Simpson
yeah, that
and Eddie Lampkin. Uh, he
yeah,
wasn't
like
getting
if you're
hardly
Colorado
any
and you're trying to
run
make
in the
it to
Pac-12
the
tournament.
yeah, if you're trying to compete for a Pac-12 tournament, Tristan's a 4 year guy, KJ's a 4 year guy, Eddie Lampkin's been in the NCAA forever. Like you're gonna trust these guys. So yeah, if I was thinking long term about Cody Williams, I'd be like, yeah, let's see what he can do with actually being the guy instead of having Tristan be the guy and then KJ being the guy. But I think that this obviously this is the year for him to be the guy to go into the league. If he's being, comped as a top five guy, it would be foolish for him
Yeah,
to.
you have to go, but as an evaluator, it would be hard for me to sell like ownership on him, right? You put on the Boise tape in the first four, completely invincible, doesn't score, 0 for 4
Oh,
from the
there's
field,
much more bad tape than there is good tape.
played 11
Much more.
minutes against Florida, only takes 3 shots, does get to the line 7 times, 9 points in 25 minutes. I mean, he's getting run 28 minutes against Marquette, 12 points, no rebounds, no assists, does get 2 blocks, missed would have been a huge wide open three to give
Mm.
them a lead late in the game. Did have a nice, 1, 2 dribble drive to the bucket and shows off the length, but like I need more. Like
Yeah,
I get that he's coming off of injury. I get that. And when I do see those flashes, like against Oregon in January when they won in Boulder, that was probably some of the best tape I've
that
seen of
was easily his best tape. There's
any
like two good
prospect.
tapes.
Yeah, against like that was like the peak tape
Hmm.
of a 2024 draft prospect. But it's just been so few and far between. You're
If
rarely
you take him in the top five, we're betting on potential and development.
you're betting on it, and like it's that's tough to sell. Like that's why you do have 2 picks. So you could go potential and then find maybe more of a of a
A
of a
safer,
rock. And
yeah,
that's why I like Connect and I like Edie and I like players like that where maybe the ceiling isn't as high, but I have better faith in them becoming actual NBA players than like, dude, if Cody Williams doesn't get a second contract, it wouldn't
I
surprise me.
would
Same
not surprise me. And
same thing
bro, like,
with
remember,
Stephen
I was the
Castle. Like,
asshole on Cody Williams. I was the negative asshole,
yeah.
but I
And
wasn't wrong.
I still like Cody, like
But
because I
yeah,
do like the potential in this draft. There's just not a lot there. I don't know if there's a guy in this draft, and so you do have to kind of dig and see what you can get and hope he works out. But man, you're really looking
and
at,
the shot hesitancy of Cody Williams is an issue too.
and that's what worries me putting him next to Shaden Sharp because we have those same questions about Shaden Sharp. Like there are times when he gets the green light and he's going, but other times when he's maybe playing with 3 other guys and he's like, I don't know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Like, you need kind of like, give me the fucking ball and I'm gonna go. Like
Mm-hmm.
until Shaden develops that, like maybe you need to look and find somebody who has that. Like,
Yeah,
so that's what worries me about pairing Cody with Shaden. You wanted to talk on Jacoby real quick before we wrap it up?
yeah. That Baylor defense is fucking awful, man. They try and force people in the middle, and then the center is a stretch center, so Yves is out of position. Like you don't. So what impressed me about Jacoby was he was taking people off the dribble and getting into the paint 2 feet in and scoring. Yeah, his free throws were awful, but like normally he's a good free throw shooter. But he would like they would Clemson would close out on him and he would attack the closeout and get into the lane and score. That's something that we didn't really see with him throughout the year because he was such a please save us. This is 5 seconds. You're shooting or catch and shoot guy or off movement guy. So to see him attack closeouts and score on a Clemson defense that was incredibly impressive was a really good sign. It's a shame that they are done. Like I feel like Clemson versus Baylor was kind of the Dylan Sage Bowl of people that I like. But to see him attack closeouts and score is a really nice thing to see because he was just such a only a shooter with that Baylor scheme. And I really do believe that he can be a decent defender when he has a scheme that isn't messed up with, PJ Hall being ready to shoot a pick and pop three, and Yves not being behind him in that defense. So I'm still I'm back on him as like a top 10 guy.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right. So we're available on iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere where you get your podcasts. We are there. Thank you so much for giving all this draft content a chance. I know that I'll be recording a Deron Holmes podcast maybe this week, maybe next, but we will be back doing more content soon. Enjoy the tournament. Peace out. All right, later, bud. I'll get this out today, and then
Perfect.
I mean, there's a lot of viral stuff that will be clipped. All right, later.
Later, dude.